Hi everybody, this is Alan Dong. Today we're going to talk about Screwdriver UI. In this session, I'm going to walk you through the various features that Screwdriver UI has. So let's get to it. So what is a Screwdriver? Screwdriver is an open source product built for continuous integration and continuous delivery. It's built on top of open source technology like Kubernetes, Docker, Node.js, Golang. If you're interested in, there's another session my teammates Jason and Tiffany host to give you a deeper dive into the architecture design level of Screwdriver. Screwdriver follows the standard CI lifecycle. Just a quick touch up on what that is. Screwdriver is event driven. It listens to events from SCM. SCM means source control management, like GitHub and Bitbucket. For example, once a commit event is sent from webhook, commit event will trigger the whole workflow graph to start. And this is how you can write the configuration code in a YAML file that Screwdriver engine can understand. This graph, it shows you that it listens to both code commit and PR merges to the branch that your repo defaults to. Now let's focus on the Screwdriver UI, and I'm going to show you the first feature about user onboarding. Let's see Screwdriver in action. And now we're on the Screwdriver UI. So first we need to sign in. Right now we allow both sign-ins from your designated SCMs like GitHub, and you can also sign in as a guest access. I already have a login user with GitHub, so I'm going to click on sign in with GitHub. This is SSO, so after SSO from GitHub, now we're logged in here. This is what my dashboard looked like after I logged in. And for brand new users, we can use this guest access to see what that would be look like. So we're showing the instruction to help you to get started. You can fork this repo, which is here, and create pipeline with your repo. So you can either fork that, or I have created a GitHub repo just for this purpose. And let's take a look. It's a very plain Node.js application that just a start and test. So I'm going to get this onboarded. So for every Screwdriver repository, you want to be onboarded, you have to have a Screwdriver.yaml file, which in this case it does not have. Let's take a look at this here. You'll see that. And let's see how we can add that. First, if you're familiar with Screwdriver already, you can always create your own Screwdriver YAML and commit. But in this case, we're going to take advantage of this create pipeline. Let me log in with my GitHub repo. And I click create pipeline. I'm going to copy this GitHub URL and create it here. And I have this all here. I will create my Screwdriver YAML yourself. That means you're going to create your YAML yourself, or you can start with Node.js pipeline. We're going to use this domain. Okay, so once we have that, we can take a look or preview what pipeline settings would be before even we jumpstart that. So on this page, we're going to give you more detailed what this template is and who is maintaining that. But for now, we can ignore that. Let's just click on Create Pipeline. So behind the scenes, what is going to happen is it is creating PR to your GitHub repo, and all you need to do, the user is to do, and just merge it. Let's take a look what's inside this PR. The PR is adding a Screwdriver.yaml file to your repo with the following changes. You might not know or familiar with what those syntax are. You can take a look at here what's Screwdriver when you hover over when creating pipeline. And we also have this quick start guide we developed to help you. But nevertheless, it will land you on this page. We'll have a detailed YAML configuration. And now let's merge it. After merging the PR, and now we're back to this pipeline page, and we can see, give you some information, what commit, message, build status, committers, when did it start, how long did it last to result in this current status. Now we can call that repository has been onboarded to Screwdriver. Having a single pipeline is fun, so let's have more fun by creating nested pipelines. So in here, I've created 2 pipelines, and let's take a look at their Screwdriver.yaml file. So the first pipeline is very simple, just have a main job. The second pipeline, it's interesting because now it's a single job that depends on the first pipeline's main job. So let's take a look at that in action. So I have 2 pipelines set up already here, and that's how I get this pipeline number 5868 put into the second pipeline 5868 and the job name. So if I trigger here by click start from the first pipeline, once that's finished, it will trigger this job, dependent job, for the second pipeline. It may take a little while. Okay, so that has finished. Let's take a look at here. As you can see, I actually triggered the second pipeline's dependent job, which depends on the first pipeline's job name, main. For developer experience, we have also created this hide trigger and show trigger toggle button. You can click here to see what downstream pipeline this job will trigger. Let's take a look at Screwdriver dashboard again. On top banner, we have collection, a list of tools, create pipeline, search, a list of documents, a list of help, and personal setting. On the left side, we have a list of collections I have created, and I'm going to show you how to create a collection. For example, right now I have created a collection named demo, and this for demo purpose. When I click on save, and we have demo. Now we can add the one I just created. And now we have a collection that only have the pipeline that you want it to be in. You can also remove or add more. You get the idea. Next, let's dive into one pipeline from Screwdriver collection, Screwdriver UI pipeline. Right here, you'll see the latest commit branch of this pipeline and duration, start date, and we'll give you last 20 days of the matrix right here as a preview. In this page, let's take a look at the matrix. by default, we show you 1 week. Let's take a look at month. And if we only want to see success, which means successful builds, we can do that in here. And now we're seeing an aggregated over last 30 days. We have events breakdown, build time breakdown per events. We can also break down by job. Let's see publish job. We can also filter by steps. This matrix will help you to look over your pipeline, see how your pipeline is behaving from 6 hours to 6 months. On the right side of the pipeline, we can see 2 tabs, events and pull requests. Under the pull requests, it's showing the number of PRs that are currently open. Under events, we're showing a list of events. You can see the history of events in here. You can also share the event URL by clicking on that. The URL will update it and you can share that with your coworkers. Let's take a look at other tabs. We have events, secrets, option, and matrix. Let's click on the secret tab. In the secret tab, we can see a list of secrets that you defined in your Screwdriver.yaml. Take an example here. You can see there are Docker trigger, Git key, GitHub token, KS token. Those are also and must be added to your Screwdriver.yaml file in order to use it. Let's take another Screwdriver pipeline as an example for secrets. Like here, I have defined a secret called this token. And this is Screwdriver that indicates this token. And this how I use that as an environment variable. I'm updating the secret for key, this token. And let's toggle this I button to show and hide the value. I just type default token. And once I click on update, it has changed. Let's go back to events. And let's trigger the pipeline to see what's the value of that secret. You probably should not do that during your production. But this is a demo. It shows you the capability of how to do that. Once this pipeline job has finished, we can see it outputs the token value I just typed, which is default token. Let's take a look at Options tab. In this Options tab, we're allowing user to change the pipeline that points to the Git repository. You can change your Git repository and you can change the branch name of the Git repository. You can also enable or disable the jobs. By disable the jobs, that also disable the scheduled time for this job. For example, freeze window and periodical jobs. And you also have to give a reason. You can refresh the webhooks by clicking on this button, or pull requests, or pipelines. Caching is another key point that, unfortunately, for the time duration, which will not be covered in this session, but feel free to ask me during the Q&A session. You can also remove this pipeline by clicking on the trash icon. Let's click on the top of the event. On this page, we're showing you a workflow graph. If you click here, you'll see vertical, which shows a list of jobs. In here, it will show the job name. You can sort them. In here, you will see the last 5 jobs, duration, start time, coverage, and action. You can start and stop and restart the job. You can also click on refresh to see the current status if your pipeline is running. You can also navigate by clicking on the dot. Next, I'm going to show you how to preview your Screwdriver.yaml in this validator tool under two tabs. So you can make sure you pass the syntax check before you commit to SCM. In here, I'm pasting a Screwdriver.yaml configuration that using a special annotation called Screwdriver.cd built periodically to run scheduled jobs. This is a cron notation that ensures this job will run on 12 p.m. every Sunday. You can look at the syntax in this page and see the implementation details on this blog. Conversely, we have another annotation called freeze window to ensure your job will not be run in given window time. You can see the implementation detail on this blog. Let's take a look at this pipeline that has a freeze window set up already. Here is the Screwdriver.yaml. On line number 7, we specify the freeze window. It means it will block the code from running from 3 a.m. to 0 a.m. in 21 hours. And here the result. You can see this no sign that indicates it's a freeze window. However, if we want to run some, let's say, hot fixes or one-time ad hoc changes, how do we achieve that? We can click on the test and run start pipeline from here. We have a magic string called force push, and we give some reason. And that will tell Screwdriver to run this code even during freeze window. And now we get the result back. Let's take a closer look at this pipeline's job. There are two steps for this main job. And by clicking on each step, we can see the logs of given command. We can also click on the artifacts tab to see what artifacts this job generates. And we can click on the files to preview before we click on download. Let's take a look at the parameter drop-down use case. Comparing two pipelines, UI pipeline and drop-down pipeline. In this UI pipeline, you will not see a drop-down. While in this drop-down pipeline, you'll see a drop-down. When you click on that, it will give you an option. You can select freeform, another select. You can have predefined configuration that you like to be default, and give an option to select when you manually kick off another build. Let's take this in action. As you can see, the configuration you have selected shows up here, and you can see how that being used by clicking on the jobs. And here is the Screwdriver.yaml, how to define parameters. Now let's talk about more tools. We have just talked about validator, and now we're going to talk about templates and commands. Templates and commands are a crucial part of Screwdriver ecosystem. We have various of templates that are snippets of predefined code that can help you to kickstart your framework. By clicking on Trusted, you can see a list of templates that are handpicked by Screwdriver team. It's either created by Screwdriver team or the people who trusted by the Screwdriver team that are highly maintained. You can see the name of the package, description, namespace. Let's click on one of the packages. By clicking the fork button, it will redirect you to the template's GitHub page. And in this template detail page, you can see the usage of this template of this version. There are 4 jobs are using this version, and there are 3 builds run on top of this version. You can see the content and supported images of this template and the steps that are being used and annotations if it were defined. You can also see the environment variables it will define. You can also see the versions. In here, we'll talk about commands. What are commands? One can simply think commands are smaller components of templates to reduce redundancy of scripts. Similar to templates, commands can also be marked as trusted. We'll skip here. Let's take an example of Docker trigger command. By clicking the fork button, we'll redirect you to the command's GitHub page. You can see the version number, the description, and who is maintaining that, when's the last update time, and how to use this. In this session, I have covered how to leverage Screwdriver UI to use the following features, such as user onboarding, Screwdriver YAML syntax, trigger other pipelines, pipeline collection, pipeline matrix, job list view, sharing a permalink event, schedule jobs and freeze window, preview artifacts, build parameters, and use force start to push during freeze window, and trusted templates and commands. I want to highlight these following links as our closing remarks, and I sincerely thank you for staying with me for the whole time. Screwdriver is an open source project, and we cannot do this without your support. Please consider joining the Slack channel for questions and supports. Now we're going to the QA session. See you there. Hello. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please type in the chat. First question is, how are the secrets stored? Are they encrypted? Yes, they are encrypted. And we use a library called Aaron, npm Aaron, to store and encrypt that. What else? Yeah, so our configuration, we have 2 different setups. The one I showed you is we host for open source. Those are in it's not managed service from AWS. We just host our nodes inside AWS and manage our Kubernetes ourselves. And we have another one on-prem. It's all using Kubernetes and managed by ourselves. Yeah. So once we set up the open source environment on AWS, it will deploy and install new packages on itself. So a closed loop of self-updating and installing and deployment. Yeah. We do use Screwdriver in Verizon Media, and it is not a personal project. And we are hoping everybody are interested in joining and contribute to the open source project of Screwdriver. And the neat thing is this whole project is written in Node.js, in JavaScript. So that should have a lower entry of barrier. So strongly encouraged. There are so many ways that we faced. So the question is, what's the pain that you think Screwdriver solve better than other CD system? Not trying to compare to any system, but our system is written in Node.js, and it's very very cheap to scale up compared to other platforms. But sometimes the cost is not it's not the only factor. The second is we have been building the whole ecosystems. We have more control in a way that, and that's one reason we choose to open source. So people later on, they can plug in and play and have more options. What's the platform you want? Yeah, we also have a link that you can host your Screwdriver on your locally. If you only run very like 2 or 3 jobs for whatever reason for your personal projects, and I will have a link there before the session closes. Let me check. Yeah, I think that's about my time. Well, yeah. So that yeah. Yeah, so the Python 2 to Python 3, we really haven't thought about that because it's still most people, they use Python 2.x, and we want them have, they don't have to install Python 3 if they want to kick off. And I believe those code are compatible. We have various of, domain knowledge experts. They are very specialized in Python, Node.js. They also help out if you are running into incompatibility. File a ticket and we'll get it fixed. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Guan. And I really hope everybody, in this spectrum of CD, get together and have more meetings like CDCon, so we can share some ideas. I also see other sessions are very interesting, and when we finish, I'll watch others. Yeah, thank you.